Welcome back to ReadingBear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The next one is titled, Cut My Work in Half? Won't hear any complaints from me. I work for a general contracting company, GC, in construction. Our job is to handle the subcontractors, SC, the smaller companies that do specific types of work, and make sure they're all doing what the designer, engineer, and client want. For quite a while, the name of the game has just been document management in my department. We get a document from the SC, we push it to the designer and engineer, get the document back, and then push it to the client. Basically, we just play hot potato with the documents. I handle about 100 of these every week. Generally, about 1 to 3 per week will have some kind of problem, either caused by a mistake by me, someone else, or the computer system. My manager has gotten increasingly frustrated about these mistakes as time has gone on. I've tried many times to explain the difficulty, much of which is out of our control, of getting every document processed perfectly. He doesn't want to hear it. He says my job is simple and it should be done perfectly, no excuses. At first, he tried doing some of it himself. He would do maybe 20 in a week, but about 5 would have mistakes, all caused entirely by him. He quietly stopped doing that after realizing the frustration that went along with it, and instead opted for asking for a new hire to do one part of my workload, while I continue with a different and separate portion. Sounded great to me. I've been working more than 40 hours a week and would be happy to see that decrease. This new hire has been a great guy, great attitude, shows up to work before me almost every day, and does what you tell him. The issue is, as my manager realized firsthand, there's a lot of pedantic things you have to learn before you can send off all these documents without a hitch. He started making mistakes, as expected, and I'd send him an email if I saw it, tell him in person, whatever. Until one day I sent him an email telling him there was an issue, and he forwarded it to my manager because he didn't understand what I meant, and I was on PTO for the day. My manager kindly responded to both of us, saying that perhaps he wasn't clear. The new hire's job is X, mine is Y, and I am not the new hire's manager, and shouldn't be trying to manage him. If the new hire has any issues, he can raise them to our manager. Immediately when I read that email, I knew the inevitable fireworks that were to come. I never emailed the new hire again. We still talk, we're friendly, but I never answer his questions, never point out his mistakes, and certainly never touch any work that would fall in his territory. For a couple weeks, all was silent, and to my manager, I'm sure everything seemed to be going smoothly. That was until our monthly report. Suddenly, we are now 360 documents behind our goal. 100 that have been processed have errors, 30 of them critical, and the client is withholding funds purely because of the sudden halt in document management. The VP talked to the new hire and myself to see what was going on. The new hire was on the verge of tears, apologizing up and down, and I explained how things seemed to have been going well until our manager discouraged me from teaching the new hire the ropes. The new hire and I were both excused by the VP, neither one of us in any trouble. Our manager is currently being ripped apart by the VP as I write this for leaving the new hire out to dry. Edit, I put this in the comments, but I just heard back regarding a job I'm ecstatic about. Better pay, a bonus, better benefits, and no POS manager. For those wondering, no, my manager didn't get fired, he's just been hiding in his office since the VP was done with him. But me dropping my 2 weeks on him the same day? I can't imagine he'll forget this day for years. The next one is titled, You're Fired. This happened a couple of years ago. I was working a full-time job, and a tea shop opened up a new store nearby, and I usually frequent this chain. I decided duck it, let me apply and see what happens. I was more or less hired after an on-the-spot interview and told the expectations were high, and that she expected near perfection, pretty high ask, considering most people that staff food service places are generally high schoolers at their first job. Fast forward a couple of months and I was working a closing shift. Being a more experienced worker, considering I was working with a couple high school students, I was generally tasked with making sure closing activities were done. There is one ingredient which usually needs to be cooked for the next morning, and takes about 20 minutes to prepare. Seeing that it was now 12:30 a.m., and my full-time job started at 8 a.m. the next morning, I decided duck it, they can take 20 minutes the next morning to prepare this ingredient, and the 3 of us went home after cleaning. The next morning, the three of us were fired via group chat text for missing this ingredient. Considering how the manager just fired about a quarter of her workforce, I messaged her saying I was scheduled for the rest of the week and offered to at least work my last scheduled week to give her time to find someone. As well, I tried taking the blame for missing that ingredient, considering my co-workers had nothing to do with the missing ingredient. Having worked in food service industry before, I knew how stretched out the schedule would be after having so many people fired at once. The manager responded by saying there is no need to come in, and that maintaining the store was everyone's responsibility. So the following week I didn't show up. Not only that, but since the entire closing shift was publicly fired from a group text, another two co-workers I was close with were also maliciously compliant in solidarity, not showing up for the following week, or ever for that matter. They had to call people in from different stores to help out. The icing on the cake would be the manager sending me a text about a month later, saying another manager vouched for me and asked me to come back to work because they were short-staffed. I politely declined her invitation. The next one is titled, "Boss wants me to write an email." Hi all, a little bit of background here. I am currently an executive for a large bank. My job is to manage the accounts for businesses that have an existing relationship with the bank. Specifically, I manage the credit card processing side, aka merchant services. About 6 years ago there was a huge uproar within the organization about a new position opening up, the executive position mentioned previously. It would be a new team with amazing pay, flexible hours, and above all actual authority to make business decisions. It was a big deal. So naturally I applied. It would be a huge step up from my then job of managing escalations for the senior directors. Fast forward a bit and I'm hired. I joined the team in October, a few months after the team was started. So, 10 or so people had already started working with their assigned customers. I strangely was not given any accounts to manage. Instead they decided to give me training modules to complete to get me up to speed. I'm cool with that. I figured it was a difficult job, so it made sense at the time. Well, I complete the silly modules in a few days and decide to walk to the manager to ask what he would like me to do. This is when I discovered this department was a cluster duck. The manager informs me that those modules were all of the work that they could assign to me. They had already assigned all of the portfolios of customers for the year and I would not be getting to manage customers until the new portfolios were approved. Having come from a world where everything is literally a dumpster fire emergency, I am confused. I assumed that I would be fired or something. Nope. My manager told me that I would be allowed to assist the other executives with their customers should the need arise. Not a single soul asked me for assistance. Understandable, since they were all trying to make the appearance that they were capable. So, every day I would sit at my cubicle, with my feet on my desk, watching movies, reading books, and browsing Reddit. It was an unbelievably great way to support my family. Literally a dream job. I feel like I need to add that I did not receive portfolio to manage until March. Ducking March. 6 months of me entertaining myself on the company dime. I'm not going to lie, it was wonderful. Anyway, I finally get to do my job, which I'm extremely excited about. My first order of business was to reach out to my customers and the team of merchant services reps that previously assisted the customers to basically let them know that there was a new sheriff in town. Not a single rep took me seriously. They knew nothing about my position or the responsibilities of my job. They assumed that I was just a support member that they could dump their problems on. It was a mess and our management team did nothing to smooth over our role to the reps or their higher-ups. A day or two into the job I am added to an enormous email chain with a customer, their accountant, several directors, and a VP of a partner banking channel. The long and short of it is that the customer was upset about the rates that we were charging them. I reviewed the pricing and offered a very appropriate alternative to their current pricing schedule. It was a small change to be sure, but it would have saved them in the neighborhood of $20,000 per year. My first mistake was assuming that the directors and VP on the chain understood that it was my call to make. My manager immediately gets a call from that VP ranting about my email. My manager comes to my desk breathing heavy, asking me about the email. I explain what I was doing. I was 100% in the right and my manager agreed. It was a good business decision, but the VP felt that they would get to set the pricing like it had always been done in the past. He wanted to gut our rates so that we made little to nothing on the customer. Well, I didn't work for his channel and I refused to gut it. He wanted to gut the pricing on our side because that's not where he made his money. He made money on the banking side. He was forcibly trying to ruin my take to protect his own. My manager is in hot water, so he insists that he tell me what to write for the remainder of the chain. I do not like to be babysat. I've never really worked for this guy before, so I felt it was a good time to test the waters. While the Peter measuring contest is going on between the manager, VP, the customer fires back in an email that she completely agrees to the new terms. However, she also requires that we refund her the difference of fees for the last 3 years. Due to my manager's order, I let him dictate what I am going to write. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. He tells me to write that we can change her rates to the new pricing or we can refund her the difference of fees. She cannot have both. For those of you in the know, this is an extremely bad move. For those of you that don't know, it is not a good business practice to give your customer an ultimatum if you want to keep them. In this situation, the customer holds all of the cards. I still have the email to show off in the office. I am going to cut out the personal details. Here is the email. I made sure to add the first bit myself. My manager's part starts at "You are entitled." I write exactly what he says. Keep in mind everyone and their mother is copied on this email. Thank you for your email, customer name. I have reviewed your request with my leadership, manager name. We appreciate the opportunity that you have given us to retain your business. You are entitled to the rate change or the refund. At this time we are not prepared to grant you both of these things. We can get you the numbers on the savings if that would help. We feel that your request is unfair to our business. It is with a heavy heart we decline. VP name, manager name, said he got your voicemail. He said he'll call you back after we are done with this deal. Sent. I have never in my life sent such a disrespectful email like that. I was awestruck that someone like this was able to crawl his way up to such a position in the company. My first real experience with this guy was a living crap show. It sickens me to know that at the bottom of this email was my name. To someone on the outside, it would look like I was the dumbest person in the world. Now for the fallout. I still don't know the exact details of what happened after the email was sent that day. I was not added back to the email chain. The very next day I was invited to a conference room with 6 to 7 people. The only people I knew there, at that time, were my manager and the manager of our sister team. I was greeted by one of the people. She was smiling and very friendly. She asked me if I knew who she was. I said no. She sat on the table and said that she was the senior VP of sales for my bank. At the time we rolled up to her. She was the head honcho, my boss's boss's boss. She had flew from our headquarters, literally across the country, just for this meeting. She seemed like a very nice person. She was not, but it was unnerving how all she would do is ask questions. She held up her hand and shushed me anytime I tried to say anything outside of answering her questions. I was there for a while and I was nervous, so I don't remember all of the questions. The big ones were, "How do you like your job?" Which scared me. And, "Why did you feel it was appropriate to email a customer a rude email?" This one turned the tables in the room. I told her that the email was completely inappropriate. "Then why did you send it?" I told her I was asked to send the email by my manager and then was allowed to explain my side of things. It was dead silent in that room even after I finished speaking. After some time, she asked me to leave the room. I sat at my desk for a good 2 hours working when one of my teammates told me that I was needed back in the conference room. This time it was just the manager of my sister team and the senior VP there. This time the manager of the sister team did all of the talking. He said that the customer that I was emailing is pulling their account not just from us but from our banking partner as well. He explained how much money they made the bank through the partnership. I don't have access to the other banking systems, just the merchant services side. I was shocked to learn that they had tons of loans, business accounts, and stuff I had never even heard of. It was part of a very large organization that spans several different sectors. The person that I had emailed was the decision maker. He didn't give me an exact number but said we had just lost millions of dollars in annual revenue. I was certain that I was going to be fired. Instead, he lectured me on the importance of diligence and other corporate mumbo-jumbo. A few extra details. I later found out that one of the people in the room was my HR rep. He was there because they were indeed going to fire me, up until I had explained what happened. Also, my manager didn't get fired. Miraculously, he is still my manager to this day. He did leave the office for the day, which probably means that he was grilled pretty hard. He is not a good manager, but he is genuinely a good person. The next one is titled, Effective Immediately. Okay, might be a long one, so sorry in advance. About 10 months ago I worked dispatch and transport for a company who was in the steel reinforcement industry. I generally worked with customers to have their steel arrive when they needed it so they wouldn't be delayed as best I could, and occasionally would have to ask other customers if they could reschedule or if their delivery was time critical. My original supervisor had left for a better opportunity at a rival company about 5 months prior, and I now had to report to the higher-ups because they refused to either promote me or hire someone to fill his position, and instead just transferred someone from interstate who was from another department, not transport, to do the easier parts of my job, calling customers who had multi-level buildings to pre-plan an approximate date of when they would need certain work plans put into production, while I had to continue to do the bulk of the delivery planning, truck scheduling, driver manifests and booking any small courier work, although during the week leading up to this MC she was on leave and I had been doing everything. Now rule of thumb was account customers who paid a premium delivery got priority, then standard account customers, followed by one-off or cash sale customers unless the customer happened to pay for the premium delivery service. Unfortunately, sales and management had started getting the idea that they could get every delivery done whenever the customer said jump, because I had been hitting the target with about a 99% hit rate, with the exceptions of when weather or machine breakdown became a factor. Sorry for the backstory, but I feel it was needed to get the full context of the job. Those in transport understand, so I got a call from one of the customers, we'll call him John Doe, who happened to be a cash sale, telling me he needed his steel on site approx 80 kilometers away, 50 miles for those not yet caught up with the rest of the world, at 7 a.m. on Monday on a truck with a crane, but couldn't accommodate a semi as there wasn't room on site. Problem was that this was on Friday, in the afternoon, 90 minutes before my finishing time. I tell the customer I'm sorry, but there is no way I could get 23 tons of steel produced and delivered to him by 7 a.m. as his site was at least 60 to 90 minutes away depending on traffic, and our crane truck drivers start at 6 a.m. so they first need to check and tie down their load before getting the okay to leave by the safety officer on site. But also, all our production capacity was full and his steel, which was originally booked for Tuesday afternoon, was pre-approved for a semi with no crane as they had one on site. Now the silence was deafening as I knew exactly what was coming. JD had started a huge tirade about how his steel needed to be there or he'd miss the concrete pour, and his steel fixers needed it ready to go the moment they finished their site meeting. I guess they had an hour-long site meeting, and that their crane was not arriving on site until the following week when the prefab walls arrived. Now, to be fair, I had just had a week of hell already, and this guy was the last thing I wanted before I was to enjoy my weekend, so I simply responded with the "I'm sorry sir, but my hands are tied at this point. If you had called yesterday and I had time to try and rearrange some jobs, it would have had a slight chance of being pushed up, but as it is now I wouldn't be able to A. have the steel produced, or B. have 2 crane trucks spare to dedicate to one delivery." Before he can resume his rant, I tell the customer I can try for Tuesday morning, but again at this point only half of the order would get there, and I would first need to have a driver agree to start early to be there by 7 a.m. John D. That's not good enough. I've paid good money for this steel, so I expect it when I need it. I understand you need the steel, however you're asking me to prioritize your work over another that was already booked and confirmed. John D. And your point? Just get me my delivery. My point is you're asking me to sit here at my desk for another 2 hours while I attempt to find the trucks needed from outside hire companies, ask the production team to work overtime tonight and tomorrow to complete the extra work loading onto 2 separate trucks, and try to convince 2 drivers to start at least half an hour earlier to have a chance at being there by 7 a.m. if they are quick at tying down their loads. As well as the extra work the morning crew will have on Monday to load 2 other trucks that couldn't get pre-loaded as they're outside hire and won't get here until 6 a.m. at the earliest, and that's assuming I can even find the trucks on such short notice, considering most companies have their trucks completely booked out by midday for the next business day. John D. FKU. Don't tell me you can't do it. Last week I ordered 50 lengths and it was here 3 hours later, so don't F-king tell me you can't do it. May I ask who you ordered it through? We have a few sites around the state that hold stock materials that can be couriered and assumed correctly that this is what had happened. John D. Dave is the guy the first normally speak to about that stuff. Me, oh, from our site that is literally 20 minutes from you that had the stock on hand, so only needed to put it on a truck that was going that way. Apparently this is where my smart-ass nature had pushed him over the edge, because he hung up on me and I had wrongly assumed he got the message that he was asking the impossible and conceded, but no. I had gotten a call from the big boss, asking me to come up to his office about 10 minutes later. When I got there, the sales manager was there also. "Boss, what's this? I am told you refuse a customer their delivery?" Before I can respond, sales manager, I just got off the phone to a customer who I was about to put on account telling me that you were rude and offensive and he expects his delivery. Me, okay, so in answer to your question boss, yes, I have refused a customer their delivery on the grounds that we can't make the time slot as we are already booked up till Tuesday afternoon, and no I wasn't rude or offensive, but if he took offense to anything I said then that's on him, as offense is taken not given. Boss, okay, why can't we make the delivery? Me, well, because the 23 tons of steel he ordered was originally confirmed for Tuesday afternoon on a semi with no crane, as they apparently had a crane on site. However, he asked for it to be Monday morning at 7 a.m. split onto 2 rigid crane trucks only 25 minutes ago. Thinking this was a satisfactory answer, I had assumed they would realize what a douche canoe this guy was. Sales manager, what do you mean? That's no reason we can't get the steel to him. At this point I had lost my patience, as the sales team seemed to think they could get their way no matter what because management always backed them. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but here in Australia we have 2 ways of reacting once we lose our patience: get angry or become a downright smartass. I chose the second path. Me, apart from the fact we have 280 tons of steel already booked for other customers, all our crane trucks are booked to confirmed slots, and I would have more chance of meeting the Queen of England at a local pub while Ozzy Osbourne was biting the head off a bat than getting another 2 trucks booked before I finish. Boss, there's no need for that, but surely we can resolve this so everyone is happy. Sales manager, get the steel to the customer and I'll be happy. Me, stop thinking that I have a magic truck spawning wand that I wave every time you guys place an urgent order or a customer rings complaining they can't change the date and time of their delivery, and I'll be a little less annoyed. This is where things went south, boss. Well, this is a potential account customer, so here's what needs to happen. You will find a way to get this done or you will find another job effective immediately. Me, well, looks like I'm finding another job, because there is no way I can get 2 trucks from here to site by 7 a.m. Monday morning and keep my other job deadlines that I have already confirmed. I then stood up and walked out of the office back to the dispatch office where my desk was, wiped my personal files, my own notes and spreadsheets I kept that helped me in my job from the computer I worked on, shut my computer down and collected my personal belongings from the tea room and desk drawers. The guy who also worked in the office, he worked as the driver safety check and made sure the trucks were always maintained and compliant. Maintenance guy, or MG, asked what was going on, to which I shrugged and responded, me, you know that Clyde North guy from before. He just complained to his sales rep, who in turn complained to Big Boss, and they told me to find a way of getting it done or find another job, so I guess I find another job. Maintenance guy, yeah, but you haven't printed any of the manifests or done the courier bookings for Monday morning. Me, I'm just following instructions and finding another job effective immediately, because they did tell me to do that if I didn't find a way. The desk phone rang, but I didn't answer because it was the sales manager. Then it rang again, this time Big Boss, but I still didn't answer because as far as I was concerned I was now fired effective immediately. My mobile rang next from a number I didn't recognize, but I answered because of my karate school and being a potential new student. However, it was Big Boss on his personal mobile. Boss, why didn't you answer your desk phone? Me, oh, because effective immediately were the words used, hence I no longer work here and am not obligated to answer the phone at the desk. I no longer am employed to sit at. Thank you for the employment, boss. By the way, you may need to send someone to organize the manifests and courier bookings for Monday, as I normally do that in my last 90 minutes to ensure any cancellations are caught before I leave, and good luck finding a way of delivering that steel to Clyde North at 7 a.m. on Monday morning. I hung up the phone and said my goodbyes to the few people I actually liked and got along with on my way out. However, as I finished putting my things in my car, I had the SM and Big Boss stop me at my car telling me I had to finish out the day, to which I smiled and responded with, effective immediately, are words I am happy to comply with. Got in my car and drove to my dojo, where thanks to my leave payout I can now run full-time karate and kobudo, traditional weapons, classes. As far as I was told, they had to pay a stupid amount of money to the competitor to help them cover the various deliveries that had to be moved around to accommodate the douche canoe that wouldn't accept his original agreement.